Perfect thing to do. The first
Right.
ever. Let's rush it.
Yeah.
Nothing can go wrong, right?
Let's rush a vaccine. It's the first ever of its kind, and you actually don't even really need it because it doesn't kill anybody unless you're already on your way out, essentially.
I know. I forgot.
So let's do that.
Oh, there's some meme. I forgot who did it, but it's like, it's a 90% effective vaccine for a 98% not fatal.
Right. I listen. I always people are saying, "Well, how could you make light of it? People have died," and I understand that. Like, I get that to a degree, but the thing is, like, it's almost like these people don't understand that people die all the time from all kinds of stuff, and like it's very sad. But the fact that they're blowing this out of proportion, it's like we got to bring this back to reality at some point. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people die of flu, and I'm not happy about it, but like I also don't want to shut down my whole life for it.
Right, exactly right. Or destroy all of our economies and
Right.
businesses and stuff.
Hey, what's another 6 weeks? I mean, we'll give everybody another check for $1,200 and call it a day.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of Joe Biden's advisors, not Rom, but the other one, the older brother, wants a 2-year lockdown.
They're just operating in like a different plane of reality. It's just
Totally
unbelievable.
Yeah, totally. Unbelievable. And he wants to kill everyone over 75, even though Joe Biden's 78. So that's how they're going to usher in Camelia, or whatever her name is.
Cornelia? Yeah.
Cornelia, yeah. Welcome to Reformgelical, where the Reformed and Evangelicals meet. My name is Matt Williams. I am co-hosted by the great AD Robles. AD, how you doing today?
Doing fantastic. I was playing my kids with Mario Kart Wii, and I finished first place in all 4 races.
There you go. Beating your kids into submission. I love it.
No, we were doing team races, and we were all on the same team.
Oh, okay.
Here's something interesting. So we actually tied the computer team. It was like we had the exact same score, which is very difficult to do that because the points are so weird. So we actually tied. And I figured it's a Nintendo game, like it's a kid's game. So they're going to be like, everybody wins. You know what I mean? And instead of doing that, everybody lost. So it was like, if you tie, everyone loses.
Oh my gosh. Dominion voting systems must have been in charge of that.
That's right. It doesn't make any sense. Like, they played the sad music and everything was so depressing.
Yeah.
Tie, everybody loses. That's a good lesson for kids.
Yeah. Hey, Caleb, how's it going? Christopher,
What's up,
thank you guys for joining us live. Really appreciate it. Makes this show
Edwin?
great.
Did you feeling better?
Did you see Summer posted a Super Mario Brother video on Facebook a couple days ago?
No.
She posted it. I think it was her. Anyways, it was showing how Mario, it was like jumping from thing to thing, and then it would almost jump down to the bottom, or the thing he jumped on would go down to the bottom.
I did see that.
You saw that?
Yes.
I actually got anxiety.
Yeah.
Like I was actually playing the game
Yeah.
back from it was such a flashback. It was crazy.
Yeah, I didn't comment on it, but I almost did, because that level, I hated those levels where the screen moved automatically.
Yeah.
Everything about it was terrifying.
Oh, it was terrible. And I'm like, my emotions came back faster than my memories of the game. It was really weird.
Let me tell you something about Super Mario 3. I've heard a lot of different things about Super Mario 3. I've heard that it's a satanic game, but I've also heard that it's a Christian game, and here's why. So I know this is a joke, but there's a part where you can run as the raccoon Mario. You know how he can fly?
Mm-hmm.
And if you fly at the right time, you go up to the sky where it's all clouds. It's like heaven.
Yeah.
And there's a cross made of coins in the sky.
Really?
Yeah. I know that doesn't make it a Christian game, but it's kind of a weird addition.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Interesting. Hey, Clayton. Whoa, throwing me off here. Clayton, he was someone I knew in Hawaii. Looks like he's in North Idaho now.
There you go.
There. All right, there you go. Thank you for everyone that supports us on patreon.com/reformgelical and the super chats. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate everything you guys do. All right, let's get into it. So I feel kind of bad, AD. I just kind of put a few different topics in the last 5 minutes on things I want to talk about.
I'm all about it.
All right. So 2 minutes ago, California passed 1 million COVID cases days after celebrities joined on a packed street celebrating Joe Biden. And it was I don't care about the COVID cases. Let's be honest. That means nothing to me.
Sure.
But it's just funny when you contrast it with what they're putting John MacArthur through.
Right.
And yet they're able to celebrate and worship Joe Biden on the streets.
Right.
It's quite a contrast, and I don't understand how any single Christian could respectfully obey any of these laws anymore, especially with this contrast, right?
Well, it's all about what you prioritize, right? I mean, these people obviously prioritize their worship, And I guess in our country, they have the right to do that if they'd like to do that. But for some reason, Christians don't think that ours is a big priority. We're willing to put up with the government deciding whether or not it's mandated or not, and going with that. That's a pretty big indictment against us. I don't have a problem with what they did. If they want to go celebrate Joe Biden, go for it, man. Like this is normal life. Life's a risk. You know what I mean? So if you think it's worth the risk of getting a virus that you'll almost certainly survive, I agree with you probably. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna disrespect you on that. But for some reason, Christians are like, well, we just love our neighbors better, so we're just not gonna worship God.
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
It's disgraceful. It's so disgraceful, and I know there's just people still out here saying that John MacArthur was wrong. People should be closed down. I think there are like Andy Stanley. His church is still probably shut down, right? I haven't heard any different.
Yeah. And J.D. Greer's, as far as I know, is still shut down. Yeah.
How do you have any authority to preach the gospel anymore when you are just bowing down and submitting? I mean, you're maybe not even bowing down to worship, but bowing down in submission at the very least.
Yeah.
And letting these people worship their gods like nothing.
And it's not like J.D. Greer's like some obscure guy. I mean, this is the president of the Southern Baptist Convention who decided maybe he's meeting now. I don't know, but I know he had initially said he wasn't going to meet until next year. So I'm sure he didn't go back on that. Yeah. I mean, after all, there's an upswing in cases. Everyone's going to die again.
Oh my gosh. It's the worst, man. You've seen those graphs of all the people or the states with the strictest shutdowns, the mask mandates, and their cases are skyrocketing. Everyone else's are pretty like plateaued and whatnot. Josh has a question here. I want to resist the mask mandates, but what do we do when the grocery stores won't let you in otherwise? It's getting hard to stand firm here in California.
So they don't let you get by with the old I've got a health exemption.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting question. And I know they're super Nazis about it. You can't have plastic bags anymore in California. You have to drive a Prius. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But it's pretty crazy about that. Yeah. But this is what I would do. I would either move out of California.
Get the heck out of California.
I mean, for a plethora of reasons.
This is not the only reason.
Right, yes. Or you maybe try one of those Instacart ordering companies.
You do that. Yeah, no, you could definitely do that. I mean, here's my thing. Like, if I'm going to a store and like I walk in without the mask and they're like, "Well, sorry, I gotta leave. Where to go?" I might put it on depending on the situation. You know what I mean? If I'm like trying to get in and out and I don't have time to go somewhere else or whatever, I'll just put it on, whatever. But the thing is, I'm at the point now where like you're gonna have to make me do it. Like, I'm not gonna look at the sign anymore. I used to just look at the sign and be like, okay, it's their property. I'll do it. Not anymore, man. You have to like make a big deal. My favorite is I'll put it on when I'm walking in and then just immediately take it off in the store. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Just begrudging compliance, trying to get around everything.
Yeah, I kind of see the merits in that, especially with private businesses. But now in Florida, it's different. In California, it's a different case. But in Florida, when the governor said there's no fines or penalties anymore for companies or for individuals, now I'm just not wearing it. And if you want to make me, then I'm leaving. I'm just not going to,
I think I told you this, Matt, like where I live, everywhere has a sign and most people are compliant. But I haven't had a single business like worker or anything ever say anything. Like they put the sign, I think probably for liability reasons.
Right.
But if you walk in and nobody says anything to you. You know what I mean? Like most people are wearing them, but nobody says anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh gosh, what could we ever talk about? Like, what's in the news?
Here's something else I'll say. Say too. So let's kick this around real quick because I don't actually have a real medical exemption. Like, I haven't gone to a doctor to say, but I've got asthma, so like I want to breathe better than. Here's what somebody asked me though. Somebody said, "Is it bearing false witness to say you have medical exemption if you actually don't?" What would you say to that?
Well. I mean, yeah, if it's in your heart, you're thinking I have a medical exemption, but I'm lying, then I think you're lying. But I think there's ways to go around it and to do it truthfully. You can just say, one, you have an exemption and not say it's medical.
Sure.
Two, you could say it's medical because you understand that that's like a bacteria catching,
that's right.
Net catcher. So just know that, hey, it is a medical exemption because you're going to be more likely to get sick. And also, I mean, you could just say, I'm not going to do it against for religious exemptions too. I mean, there's plenty of ways to go around this, but I would say like, yeah, I don't think you should just say it if you think you're lying just to get out of it.
Right. Like if you're totally healthy and you don't think it's actually unhealthy to wear the mask and like stuff like that, you shouldn't say that you do. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, I think this guy was trying to say, well, you need to have a doctor's note. Like, what is this, kindergarten? I don't need I can take care of my own health. I don't need a doctor's note. You know what I mean? I've got asthma. I don't want to wear the mask, and I'm not going to.
Yeah. I'm a grown man. I don't need permission from my consultant, who's a doctor.
He's a doctor. They gave my wife. My wife got attested the other day because she was having a lot of symptoms. She just had a cold, obviously. Like pretty much everyone just had a cold,
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, so they tested her. And then, so she was negative, and the doctor's like, do you want to know, like, so that you can go back to work? It's just like, what? This is doctor's note? It's like high school, man. It's like worse than high school.
I know. Well, that's how we're treated. I mean, that's what high school is for, is to prepare us to be like factory workers.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, my wife, we have friends that are staying with us right now, and we just walk everywhere. We go to restaurants. We even go to like big chains like Costco that aren't based in Florida, and they have the strict mandates. They don't say anything anymore because they can't get in trouble. So
why would they? I mean, once you can't get in trouble, why would you? Mr. Scarpa says he just walks in and says he can't wear it. He doesn't say anything about exemption. He says I can't wear it, and he says rarely do they get a rebuttal. That's true. Like if you just don't do it, they rarely say anything.
Yeah, especially when the risk of litigation and getting in trouble is greater challenging you now than the state.
That's right.
That's something that we need to be really clear about, especially going forward in this country in this unknown era that we're going into, is businesses, for the most part, they do have politics to them, and there's definitely like lefties that are running it and stuff. But how they actually act is going to be what's the least likely way they're going to get in trouble, either from the government or from discrimination or whatever it is. Before, there was kind of, at least in Florida, where you could get fined, you could get shut down if you didn't force people to wear masks and social distance. That's taken away now. Now it's, hey, it's illegal to ask someone about their health conditions. That's the threat. So they're not going to challenge you in Florida really anymore if they know better.
Man, California, this guy says, this is not true in California. I've been chased down by managers and security guards. What the heck, man? You got to get the heck out of there.
Yeah, because the California will shut you down. It's more likely a business will get in trouble for letting you go in there without the mask than from you filing a suit against them. And so that's just what we have to remember as we're making strategic moves and fighting battles and being cheerfully, disobedient and all those things. Is that the businesses are looking from a loss mitigation perspective.
Right.
And we need to use that to our advantage is basically what I'm trying to say.
It's true. I like it.
Yep. Oh, gosh. All right. This election thing is nuts. So this is my theory, and I want to bounce it off you, AD. This is what I think happened. And then we can talk about what's going to happen from now. But this is what I think happened. Is the left really thought that Trump was going to lose or it was going to be really close. And they based it off the polling. They probably thought the polling was a little ridiculous like the rest of us did. But they thought least they were losing. Or at least Trump was losing. And then they looked back at Obama and Biden, and their second term, even Obama, like the most popular president in the world. He lost 4 million votes his second term. 4 million people voted for him less the second time. They're seeing all this stuff. And they thought that they could get away with the little cheating they normally do, and they were going to win. And then on election night, they realized, Trump's actually getting more turnout than he did the first time around. And he ended up like making 4 or 5 million more votes, even after deletions and all that stuff. And so they froze everything at once. Mm-hmm. All these states just stopped counting. Never been done before.
Right.
So somebody determined in a group or individual saying, hey, guys, we need to freeze everything so we can start cheating. And they got so scared and they weren't quite sure of how many votes they needed. So they just ran every single cheating play they knew. The machines, the voting stuffing, the dead people and all that stuff. And so what we're seeing now and why we're able to see all this fraud is because they were so desperate not to lose and get caught. They just ran every single play they knew in cheating. What do you think about that theory?
Well, I think it's an interesting theory because my tendency is to think that my opponents are smarter than they are, I think. And so my tendency is to think, well, this is a whole plan all along. You see, what they did was what they did was they cheated every which way. So that way the cheating would be diluted. And so you'd be like, no, there's no way they cheated this many ways. And so they didn't really cheat. That's my tendency. But I've come to realize over time that I give the leftists way too much credit. They are organized, but they're not as I give them sort of the all powerful abilities. They don't have that.
Right.
I think that if one of these two scenarios is going to be true, like they planned all of this cheating all at once, I think what they did was they planned for contingencies, so they had the ability to make a few phone calls and stop the counting if they needed to, because that was obviously coordinated. That was obviously pre-planned. But you're right; it almost does seem super desperate. Like it's just so out in the open that you would think that. Why would they do it that way? You know what I mean? See, that makes sense to me. I mean, listen, obviously they cheated. We all know that.
Yeah.
And so, that kind of thing does make sense where they just said, okay, we're going to ramrod this thing in there. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. It's hard to say because there's so much information out there. There's so much misinformation out there. There's just so much going on right now. It's difficult to trust anything.
It is really difficult. But I've been following certain accounts where they've been detailing even the court cases and the filings and the actual documents, screenshotting them in Michigan, and it looks like the Pennsylvania's case is going to go to the Supreme Court,
like the Supreme Court of the United States.
Yeah, if it went to, I think it went to some place right now where they ruled that those votes after the deadline get thrown out because whoever decided to give them an extra 2 days, it was unconstitutional by Pennsylvania. So it's eventually going to go to the Supreme Court. And then in Michigan right now, it's in the Michigan courts because just so much cheating is going on there. It's insane.
Yeah, it's so crazy, man. Have you noticed how the language has sort of changed with the people that say there's no cheating? So first there was no cheating.
Yeah, where's the evidence?
Right. No evidence of cheating, which obviously there was.
Right.
That's like when somebody says there's no evidence for God. I mean, you obviously know that there is. So let's stop playing games, right?
So true. Yeah.
But anyway, so that's how it started, and that's like, well, there's no widespread cheating. So it's like, okay, well, there's cheating, but it's not widespread. And now now the next one, I think I've started to see it a little bit. The next one is, well, yeah, there was widespread cheating, but it didn't change the outcome.
Yes, that's exactly right.
You know what I mean? It didn't change the outcome. And that's the kind of thing that in my mind gets me to get conspiracy mode, where I think that they know everything, because it's like, well, that's why they did the polls so skewed one way when they were obviously not that way. Like they were saying he was going to win by 15 points. They knew that was not true. So what they did was they did 15 points. So then they had it in your mind that he was going to win anyway. So it's like, well, yeah, there was cheating, but it wasn't 15 points worth of cheating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
But I give my opponents way too much. I think see, here's the thing. This is just my opinion, guys. It's my opinion. I know we don't have a lot of college degrees, but my opinion is that conservatives are more intelligent than Democrats. Yeah. And I think the problem is that I think everyone's as intelligent as we are.
Yeah, I know. I've done
and I know that's very
thing.
humble.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to be a little more prideful. Or another way to say it is the private sector is a lot more smart than the public sector, and that's who's doing all this stuff, right?
I mean, that's obviously true.
Obviously true. So this is my question, is where do we go from here? I mean, obviously, I think we agree, correct me if I'm wrong, that Donald Trump has to win this or the country's over.
That's what you think?
Right? I think so. Do you not agree with that?
Well, you don't want to know what I think. Well, why don't you go first?
Dude, this is going to be dark. I'm telling you, I'm in a dark place, AD. This is the dark Reformgelical show.
Yep.
This is what the two things that I think need to happen. I think Donald Trump needs to win, not because of Donald Trump. He's not a savior. He's not the solution, but this has become bigger than Donald Trump because of how sloppy they were with the cheating. It's one thing to cheat and to not get caught. Yeah. But now that we have like 3,000 affidavits in one state of people catching cheating, we have the algorithms, we have big data analysis from data scientists showing that it's obviously fraud. Now that it's in the open, Donald Trump has to win because we know he did win. Anyone with common sense knows that he won. But the second thing that needs to happen, and I doubt this is going to happen, but it has to happen or it's still, I think it's over, is every single person that knowingly did this needs to be charged with treason. Yeah. Because they are domestic enemies. They're undermining the Constitution, the election process, and it's over. because even if Trump wins, and I hope he does, I'm pretty confident he is going to win, actually.
Yeah.
I say 80-20 right now. I think he's going to win just because of how prevalent it is. There's no way, even like Roberts, there's no way in my mind that Roberts is going to vote against the cheating and stuff like that in the Supreme Court right now, even though he's super squish. Like, how can you do that? I don't get it.
Yeah, I get it.
But then what happens for the runoffs in Georgia, where there's already people on the Democrat side telling people to break the law and move there temporarily just to vote in it? They think they can get away with it. And then what happens in the primaries? And then what happens again in the 4 years?
Right.
The only way that there's going to be a confidence restored in our election process after seeing this is if people are tried for treason, and it's not just like one aide that gets thrown under the bus, but it's where the big players are gone.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only way I can see this nation getting back on track. What do you say?
Treason's a pretty heavy charge.
It is, and I say that.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't say that lightly. I really do mean it. And I think there should be the capital punishment because they're putting all of our lives at risk. They're attacking the whole country. I think it's warranted. I'm not saying we do it. I'm saying they go to court and go to trial. And if it's proven, then we carry out the sentence.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, whether or not it's warranted, I kind of agree with you. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to happen, though. There's just no way that they'll do that. Now, here's what I will say, though. If there is some kind of repercussion more than like a slap on the wrist, it could have a similar effect, at least not. Listen, if Trump gets reelected and nothing happens, that's horrendous. Like Trump can't do that. If he does that and he doesn't have the DOJ or whoever looks into this stuff, I don't know how this works, but he's got to have to make some moves. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't, then it's not quite as bad as him losing, but it's almost just as bad.
Yeah, I mean.
Because this has to listen, when you punish crime, it does have a positive effect on future criminals.
Right. Absolutely.
So if he doesn't do it, then it's just the next election, and we all know that the next Republican is probably not going to have as much of a backbone as Trump.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And they'll know.
So either way, like we get 4 more years of at least relative sanity, but then after that, it's almost just as bad. Just another 4 years.
Yeah, I totally agree. I guess from a systemic perspective and the architecture of how our country runs, yeah, it is just as bad if nothing happens. It's just delayed 4 years. But from like a policy perspective, all that stuff, I think it's better. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's so evident. I mean, we've talked about this in different contexts before, but you don't just become a murderer overnight. Like they didn't just decide to cheat for the first time ever. But to be able to have this system in place, like what you're saying, either my scenario or your scenario, the system has been there for cheating.
So this is what this is why I said you didn't want to hear what I had to say. You said that the country is over if Trump doesn't win. I think that if he doesn't win, that's a sign that the country's been over for quite some time.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
No, I 100% agree with that. But I just think then the consequences of that are going to be manifest. Before it was kind of like there was a facade and we were getting a lot, kind of like fiat currency, right? We're all just pretending it's real and it's good enough to carry on society. There's no going back to the facade anymore. So we're going to be forced with real consequences and real actions, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, on one hand, it's good to know. It's good to know, like for example, like the fact that fiat money is like kind of precarious. It's good to know that. It's good to not be in the dark about what money is. You know what I mean? Because if you're in the dark about what money is, you're not going to take steps to mitigate it. The fact that your dollar is going to be less valuable tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you do know that, at least you're playing with the right rules. You know what I mean? So at least you can say, well, okay, I got to take steps to mitigate the fact that this isn't real and eventually this is going to have much less value. So I got to do something about it. So at least like if we're in a situation like that, we can take real steps. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that same logic needs to be applied to this situation. If Trump wins, then there's more peaceful ways that we can go about this.
Right.
And if Biden wins, I mean, I still think there's some steps. Like if Biden wins, I'm going to try to, being in Florida, trying to lobby our governor to secede. Because I'm not going to vote in any more presidential elections. If Biden gets away with this, there's no point in voting anymore, and that's why I think it's really over.
Well, there's some really, like, I think it's over already, because think about this: if nothing happens and Biden wins, millions and millions and millions of Americans feel just like you, where it's like, this is obviously rigged. I'm not going to participate in this. This is ridiculous. Yep. And that's logical. Why would you participate? If he doesn't, if Biden loses now, millions and millions and millions of Democrats are going to think the same exact thing.
Yep.
That the courts are rigged. Everything's rigged. They'll probably still participate because this is their God. Yeah. But they're going to think the same thing. So like, how do you fix that at this point? How do you fix that? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, if the evidence comes out and it's pretty clear and people start getting charged with serious crimes and stuff like that, that might nip it in the bud. Mm-hmm. I don't think the hardcore leftists won't give up their gods. But I think some of the more reasonable ones would be like, well, hold on a second. These guys were cheating. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's just an optimistic outlook. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's kind of different reactions. I think the conservatives, we're going to be just over the system, and we're not going to get the turnout. Even if we do have some people that are still going to believe in the system and vote, then we're not going to have any kind of turnout to where we're going to win anything anymore.
Well, they've lost. I mean, they would have lost me at that point. There's no way. Why would I?
Yeah, but from the Democrat perspective, it's really interesting because they all still are watching the NBCs, the CNN, the MSNBCs. And from what I've seen, they don't even really mention this stuff. I mean, Facebook is throwing a warning sign, a censor sign on any little thing that has even hints at it, right? They're going to be caught in the dark. Like, they're not prepared for it. At least with us, we know what's happening.
Sure.
If it doesn't go our way, we've kind of seen the trends, and it fits into our kind of perspective as conservatives that government's evil and they screwed us.
Yeah.
If it happens to the liberals, they don't see this coming at all right now. They think they won, it's over.
But I wonder about that too, to be honest, because when Facebook and Twitter put those little stickers on the thing, I wonder if that actually has the effect that they think it does. Like, because to me, when I see something like that, I'm automatically more inclined to believe it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people like that.
It's more verified than the blue check mark.
Right. Exactly. Like the thing is, like I always wonder this about flat Earth videos, right? Like YouTube censors flat Earth conspiracy videos. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, I think that actually just makes the flat Earth people more rabid, and I think it grows their numbers because they're like, well, this is some kind of like hidden information forbidden that I'm not supposed to know. They must be hiding something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to wonder about that. Like, is that actually having the right effect? I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, it's preposterous that they're doing it, but what's the effect?
Yeah, I think you're right. And there's some kind of Western principle that's still baked into us that makes us think that way. I think that we want to hear all ideas, and then we'll destroy the bad ideas and the good ones will live on. That's kind of our ethos as a Western society, not even just American, I would say Western as a whole. And now that there's this censorship, it kind of is more of a skeptical of the censorers than what's being censored. And so if we still kind of have that baked into us that, well, no, we should have it all out in the public forum and then we'll debate it. And why isn't these powers letting this happen? There must be something to it. I think that's just our natural Western thought.
Here's a thought that here's a comment. Somebody said, people in communist countries learn how to interpret the propaganda. They know it's not true often. Yeah. I think eventually you learn how to interpret this stuff. This is the kind of thing, like when you see the other day on ABC, I think ABC's Twitter page, they had said that people were celebrating in the streets in UK when Biden was characterized as the president-elect. Mm-hmm. Characterized as the president-elect. And I remember thinking about that phrase, and I'm like, that's a weird phrase. Like, any thinking person would be like, something's going on there. You know what I mean? Characterized as the president-elect. And it turned out that, of course, it wasn't real. It was just, some people celebrating, what was it? The
something else in England.
The Guy Fawkes Day, something, a bonfire day or something. Like, it was obviously a fake story, but like it's also a fake president election because, characterizing someone as president-elect doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Absolutely right. And so I think it's going to be really interesting. We need to definitely pray for wisdom on just what to do, because if the voting system is not believed anymore, it really is falling apart. Unless
how can you get someone to believe in it again?
That's what I'm saying. I think Trump has to win, and the DOJ has to start trying people for treason.
Right.
That's the only way.
There would be no way. I mean, what? I mean, obviously, I don't know everything, but how could you? How could you convince someone that actually it is real now? We got it now.
Right. That's why I think the charges of treason are merited, because of if it doesn't get carried out on the people that need it and deserve it, then this is where we're at. Our country is gone, and all that it entails. So I think it's really dangerous. It's funny. I've been hearing this saying for the last couple of years. I think I heard it from Dennis Prager. I might have heard it from other people, but they basically say the right thinks that the left is just wrong, but the left thinks the right is evil. Have you heard that before?
I've heard that before, yeah.
Like they think we're the Marxists, we're the racists, we're not the Marxists, we're the racist, the fascist, and all that stuff, right? I'm disagreeing with that now. I really do think the other side is evil. I really think they're evil. After all of this stuff, it's no longer to me an intellectual debate. I don't even care if they agree with us anymore. I don't care if they're happy anymore. I'm really starting to see this as we are enemies. That's a scary place to be. I try to talk myself out of it, but I really, after this whole thing, I don't know how to see it any other way. It's not like I'm trying to get the Democrats to tolerate our policies. They don't do that. They weren't happy in 2016.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, to me, like, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Like, let's say somebody is doing something evil and they know it's evil. Like, is there really a difference between someone who's doing something that's evil and knows it's evil and someone who's doing something that's evil that doesn't know it's evil? Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the same evil that they're doing. You have to stop it.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like, so yeah, no, there's no question about it. And I think that when you look at why people vote for the Democratic Party, they vote because they believe that they're going to accomplish what they set out to accomplish, which is evil.
Right.
So like they have to repent of that evil. Like just because it's nice sounding evil doesn't make it not evil.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. It just doesn't work that way. The two guys that I spoke with that didn't air our video, they were like, well, you see, but you don't understand. Well, the one guy, I only spoke to one of them. You don't understand. Like the Democrats are masters of deception and the language. And, they say it's reproductive justice instead of abortion. I was like, yeah, but does that mean that the baby's actually not dying? No, the baby's still dying. So whatever you call it, you could call it, happy fun birthday if you want to, but it's still the same thing. So it's evil. And Christians can't vote for the happy fun birthday if the happy fun birthday means killing babies.
Right.
Like this is not difficult. Like people aren't stupid. That's the other thing. People get this impression that Democrats are just stupid. No, they're not stupid. They know what they're voting for. Like, have you seen this is I'm about to go on a little bit of a rant. Sorry about this, Matt.
Go for it. Do it.
But you've been seeing this stuff, man, where I saw that feminist lady, Naomi Wolf. She's like, I just can't believe it. Joe Biden's going to lock down the country for 4 to 6 weeks. If I knew this beforehand, I wouldn't have voted for him. It's like, but he told you beforehand. You're lying. Stop lying. And you get people like who was the guy? Oh, was it Thabiti or it was Dwight McKissick and Thabiti and someone else was like, well, this is a very troubling development. This LGBT Equality Act, he's going to put it. This is troubling. I can't believe we must stand against it with every fiber of our being. It's like, yeah, but what about the one where you didn't try to vote for him to empower him to do that because he told you he was going to do that ahead of time? Christians aren't stupid. Dwight isn't stupid. He's a liar. That's what he is. So he knew he was going to do that. He voted for it and now is pretending like he didn't know. That's just a lie. Now, some people might not have known. I'm sorry, though. If you're going to go and do something, you got to know what you're doing. So if you're voting for a Democrat just because daddy told you to when you were a little kid, and you just think that that's what black people do, and you're going to vote for, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your reason is.
Right.
Sorry, it's evil, and you've participated in the evil now. And I don't believe you anyway because you've been told many times that it's evil. You know what I mean? So there's no one that's like when people say, well, what about the people in the jungle that haven't heard the name of Christ? You like all three of them because most people have heard of Christ now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Here in the United States, everybody's heard of him. So like you're talking about a non-factor. Now, you have heard that it's evil to vote Democrat. You've heard the reasons. You know about abortion. Stop doing evil things.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, and you're completely right. And even more so, I think you're more justified in church discipline for Democrats now.
Definitely.
I mean, we were talking about it just from a specific murdering babies and idol worship. Yeah. But again, even more so now, they're not just trying to work within the system and do things that are evil. They're trying to destroy everything. They're anarchists now.
Yeah.
For the most part. Right. It's the weirdest thing in the world, but it's like, so I'm no longer taking the position that Democrats are Americans. They're really on our side. We're on the same team. We just disagree on some policy differences. No, they're evil. And I don't know why I expected anything different. They're murdering babies. Why? It's not a far leap to say, yeah, they're going to cheat to win an election.
Right.
Which that's less to me. Murdering a baby is a far worse thing than cheating on county votes.
That's right. I mean, listen, like a lot of us, the first time around, we talked about how we didn't vote for Trump. And the reason why we didn't is because we were thinking, well, if you'll cheat on your wife, then you'll do anything. Just like that's pretty bad, right?
Right.
But like the thing is, though, that you can't get away with voting for Democrats using that kind of logic, because if you'll vote to kill babies, even if you swear up and down, well, I wouldn't do it, but I just don't want to take away the right to do it. Like, even if you say something stupid like that, like that's like the worst thing that I can imagine. You know what I mean? That besides killing Christ, which they would try if they could,
of course.
But besides killing Christ, that's like one of the worst things I can imagine. So obviously, if you're going to vote for that, you'll do anything. There's nothing holding you back from anything.
Right.
It's not a far-fetched thing to think you'll try to steal an election. That's actually way less bad.
Yeah, that shouldn't surprise us at all. And I think that's what we need to take away from this. After this election is resolved, they're still advocating for baby murder. They're still advocating for worshiping the state, marching in the streets to celebrate your political candidate winning, but you can't worship God. You can't sing in church. You can murder babies. So we shouldn't be surprised about that. And it's a cancer to every institution it touches. Sin is death. The wages of sin are death, not just spiritually, but every single thing it touches. And we need to treat it accordingly. They've been saying we're evil for a long time. It's time for us to actually be accurate biblically and call them evil as well. Did we get a good comment? I missed one.
No, I just read something else. Sorry. But no, there are some good comments here. I mean, it's just like, I think, listen, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I don't, listen, I understand. I have people in my family that vote Democrat, and I know what these people think, right? I know what they are. The thing is, for a Christian, we understand that, like, we have a sin nature as well. We do evil things from time. Like, this is not like some kind of outlandish statement.
Right.
Stop doing evil things. Like, I mean, like, I've done evil things before, and I should stop. People always like, well, what are you saying? What are you saying, that you don't sin? What are you saying, that you're just above everybody? It's like, that's not what we're saying. But what we are saying, though, that's a distraction tactic. You need to stop doing evil things. And when you point something out for me that's evil, okay, then I'll stop. But for right now, we're talking about voting Democrat. We're talking about doing Democrat things. That's evil.
Yeah, it is. Yes, absolutely evil. And we need to treat it accordingly. Our actions need to happen accordingly to that standard. It's no longer just agreeable differences or ways that we can kind of be, just push those aside. It's not that anymore. It destroys everything. And we're seeing that happen before our eyes. Right. Derek, you don't think that we can see your comments, but we can. And Derek agrees. You were right, AD. Or whatever.
I appreciate it, Derek. Yeah, I do see the comment. I can't type there, though, so I can see it, but I can't type in there.
Can you post AD on your side? Do you see like a post comment on the bottom with like a drop down all?
I see private chat. Oh. No, I don't. I just see I could do a private chat, but I can't do like a comment there.
Oh, only I have the power. Interesting. So let's see. There was a good one. The left is violent. Oh, this is Derek too. The left is violent and unhinged and wants revenge no matter who goes in. And I absolutely agree with that. And I'm actually pretty proud of my Governor DeSantis. He is pushing for legislation right now where gun owners, store owners is what I was looking for in businesses, are going to be legally allowed to shoot looters that come in their store. What say you about that?
Definitely, you should be legally allowed to shoot people that come onto your property, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, should you shoot anyone that comes into your property to steal? Probably not. But listen, man, this is like your property is it's an extension of you, right? Like, so you own property, like you can defend that property, and there's nothing wrong or evil about that. You're under attack,
right?
You know what I mean? Like,
especially your
what's complicated about
your livelihood, man.
Yeah. When somebody attacks you, you can attack back.
Absolutely. And I do want to say, though, that there's a difference between being stolen from and looting. Looting, he's not passing legislation so like if someone comes in and steals a candy bar, you can shoot him. He's talking about looting and rioting.
Right.
And to me, that's war. And I think that's the kind of thing that he's thinking about when kind of passing this legislation.
Right.
It's kind of admitting that our civilization is falling apart, right? Because if our civilization was working normally and the rule of law really ruled, he wouldn't need to pass something like this.
Right. Because when you like, that'd be like saying, And honestly, there's probably some states that need a law like this. Sadly,
Yeah.
that'd be like saying, like, in a home invasion, you can defend yourself to the death. Like, that should be obvious. Obviously, you should be able to do that if somebody invades your home.
Absolutely.
Why is that questionable? Why is that even in question?
Right.
But there are probably some. I bet you California doesn't allow that.
No, they don't. Actually, true story in Hawaii. This guy shot somebody who came into his house. It was in a neighborhood where everything looked really the same. This guy came home drunk, went into his neighbor's house, not his. His neighbor thought he was an intruder, shot him, and then the guy that shot the drunk guy who went in the wrong house got tried for murder for it.
Wow.
But it was so, like, you're not allowed to defend yourself in certain states, which is absolutely crazy. So you guys just need to move to
That's
Florida.
straight out of the Bible, by the way. That's straight out of the Bible, by the way. Like that, there's a very clear biblical case for that. Someone comes into your house at night, you don't know why they're there. You could strike them dead right there, and there's no blood guilt, none.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Because you don't know, and you don't have the time to figure out and ask questions all the time.
Right, but in a riot, you do know what they're there for.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like you said, it's not just someone that pockets a candy bar.
No.
That's
and
different.
Especially in the era we're in right now with rioting, these riots aren't spontaneous. They're planned out. They're armed. They have the U-Haul trucks. They're funded by people. It's like you're getting attacked by an army. Let's just be honest. And that's what this is all about.
That's right.
Chris says it's time, or Christopher, sorry, some people don't like their name cut short. It's time to talk about secession at a state level or county level across the country. I say if Biden wins, 100%. And we need to be encouraging our governors and legislatures to do that as soon as possible.
It's really the best for everybody.
It is the best for everybody. And we need to be looking at how we can do coalitions with like-minded states.
Yep.
And how do we keep this from happening again is basically what we need to figure out. And then I would say also, if that's not something that is available to you in your state, move. Or you need to go back to old school and go to your elections. I mean, to your local elections, and take over the mayor, take over the sheriff, and control the police and the sheriff's department, because you're going to need godly men in those positions if you're going to stay in the union and defy what's coming down at the federal level, like the vaccines, the stay-at-home orders, all of those different things. You're going to need the people that control the guns locally to be on your side, or it's over.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, listen, my thing is, so here's the thing. If there was some serious talk about secession and it was really going to happen, I would probably consider moving to a place that was going to secede from the craziness. But if there's not, I'm planning on staying in New Hampshire. And I need to establish a network of local people that I can rely on, that I can trust. And obviously the church is necessary to be part of that, of course. That's the primary way. But yeah, you need to find the locals that'll actually have some backbone, that'll actually stand up to some of this stuff, because that's what's going to be necessary. And honestly, that's the way you solve a lot of this stuff. When you have a tyrant, they can't control everybody. They can't be everywhere. Yeah. But if you have a local network, that's the only way to really survive it. And
it's a way to rebuild too. Like, you start local, and then you go to the county, and then you go to your governor, and then you start rebuilding that way. Yo soy corn pop. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. So yeah, that's what we need to do. Oh man, it's just a rosy show.
Physics Phantasm. My money is on South Dakota is the first to leave if Biden shuts things down. Is that the lady governor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Although CNN says it's North Dakota, but she's really from South Dakota.
She's from South Dakota. Yeah. No, that would be so like sadly, like, that lady's got some spine. You know what I mean? There's just no question about it. Like, she's probably got more spine than any governor in the States, which is a sad thing, but it's true. She seems like a great governor. So like, yeah, that would be amazing if she would do something like that. She was like, she was definitely the best governor in the COVID situation, right?
As far as like not locking down at all, yeah.
As far as like not doing anything,
right? DeSantis was second place, but she was she was first place for sure.
And in all fairness, I mean, DeSantis has a lot more people.
And a lot more Democrats and liberals. Like, there's tons of pressure. Yeah.
A lot of pressure, a lot of liberals, a lot of, like, in the attractions and everything like that. Like, yeah, that's a tough job, man. But no, he did a good job too.
Yeah. I was kind of disappointed he caved, but I mean, I understand it, and I really don't fault him that much for it, quite honestly.
I understand. But yeah, no, all it would take is one, strong-willed governor. And I think the ball could get rolling fairly quickly.
Yeah, I totally agree too. And I think it's encouraging that we are seeing some governors like this. I wouldn't expect to have a lot of governors standing up until there was a stand and momentum to be built.
Yeah.
And also with people, I'm really encouraged. Apparently, we're going to have a protest out in D.C. This is Saturday, I think it was. I should probably check that to make sure. But it's already like selling out. Let's see. It is March for Trump, Stop the Steal, Saturday noon, D.C. So there's people rising up. And so I don't think it's as hopeless as I even thought it was before this.
Yeah.
I thought there was a lot more people that were kind of just checked out, especially when you look around and see the masks and things. I thought really there was no one left to stand. But it seems
Matt,
like at least people are
let me tell
waking
you
up.
why you thought that, because I thought that too. But I let me tell you why. Because let's just be honest, as unplugged from the matrix as you are, and I think I am, those polls that they do and they put online, well, 80% of people think Biden won. Like that stuff really, you buy into it.
Yeah.
And you're like, they make you feel like you are the lone lunatic on the side of the street, yelling at the sky. And that's intentional. They always want to do that. That's why social media is such a threat to them. People, I saw somebody today who had a great post. He said that people always say how depressing social media is. And it's just so troubling. And I mourn for the church. I don't, because social media allows me to realize that there are people everywhere in this country that feel very similarly to the way I do. I've made friendships on here. And honestly, I would have a handful of people in my local community that I know are on the right side of things. But I would, if I didn't know there were other people out there, if you look at just the media, you would think that I would think that I'm crazy.
Right.
So no, it's good to know. Listen, like, yeah, it's called gaslighting. That's right, Derek. And they've gaslighted me and you, Matt, to think that nobody cares about this. Nobody can, everyone just thinks it's president-elect. It's president-elect. It's official office.
Yeah, right.
That's what they want you to think. That's why they do those polls. They're obviously fake polls. They're obviously not really asking the right questions or just making them up. Who knows what they're doing? Nobody knows.
Right. Yeah, no one knows.
But they want you to think that nobody cares.
And it's really convincing. Like, honestly, there's been several times, even the last week, where they keep saying there's no evidence. Show me the evidence. Where's the evidence and all this stuff? Right. And I start second guessing myself. I'm like, am I the crackpot here?
Yeah, that's right.
And even being me, who is pretty like contrarian, let's be honest, there's times where I was doubting. I'm like, there's no way that every single media person is just not going to cover this.
That's right.
Like my bubble, my innocent bubble of, people are normally good and the media is just honest channels delivering the real story. And it still creeps in. That's still like programmed into me.
Of course.
It's great. And now we're seeing it. Like, we're seeing the evidence now, and it's like, oh man, gaslighting really does work. Even when you know it's happening, it works.
Right. That's exactly right. You can know they're doing it, and it eventually has an effect on you. That's how effective it is. And the thing is, you have to understand that a lot of people don't want to be told that they're crazy. Like, Matt, you don't mind if some idiot on Twitter calls you crazy or a racist. You don't care.
But like all the time.
Right. But a lot of people actually do really care about that, and so they won't say anything, or they won't, that's the thing. So it's like, we gotta always be on guard, because the reality is that we get gaslit all day, and as much as I'd like to think that it's impossible to gaslight me, it's not. It's definitely not. And then Mark Deaver here says, did y'all see the Bongino video on Rumble showing that Trump train headed to DC for the rally? Like, that kind of stuff, man, it's stupid little stuff. And someone might think like, oh, what's the big deal? You're just preaching to the choir. Nobody's going to watch that video except people that already agree with you. Well, that's helpful, though. That's helpful. It's actually good to preach to the choir. That's actually how you should preach. When you're a pastor, in my opinion, you should be preaching to the believers. Yeah. Not so much to the unbelievers. That's for evangelism. That's preaching to unbelievers is very different than what you should be doing on Sunday, to your congregation. Mm-hmm. You should be preaching to the believers in the audience. So it's like, that's a great thing. Those kind of videos, it's good to know that there's a whole train full of people. And look, that's propaganda too. Let's not pretend like it's not. It is propaganda, but like you can use propaganda for good. You know what I mean? True propaganda.
Isn't propaganda have like kind of you have to be false about it? Isn't that in the definition?
That's definitely the connotation. It might be the definition, but I'm whatever. Okay, if it is the definition,
Motivating.
what I mean is
persuading.
Yeah, right. What I mean is videos that have an obvious slant to them, but are true.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And another reason that is good is not just to motivate ourselves, which we definitely need. I mean, I need it. I need motivation all the time. And then, so when like listeners or something share a show, or they say to one of us, man, you guys have been encouraging to me, like those are the things that I need. I need to be encouraged with those things. But also for the squish politicians, that they're professional, which way's the wind blowing?
Right.
That's why that's important. And you know who else is which way's the wind blowing? John Roberts on the Supreme Court. And so this stuff matters because the people that are going to be changing the election results or not are looking at these things, and there's pressure on them. Don't mistake that for 1 second.
Right. We'd like to think that judges can be impartial. That's very, very difficult. And so like I was saying last week, which judge is going to want to change over the election, right? Like who's going to do that? And the reality is that's a very fair point. Which judge is going to be that guy willing to put them and their family at risk to do this? Well, I mean, it becomes easier if all of a sudden they realize, well, yeah, there's like 70 million people in the country that want me to do this. You know what I mean? It's the right thing to do as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Listen, I see all the claims of fraud. I don't know how to decipher them myself, but I do know that I can believe what I saw with my own eyes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why the sky is blue, but I can see that it is. Like, so I'm looking forward to seeing the evidence of what happens, but nothing's going to convince me that there was no shadiness going on election night. That's obvious to anyone who has eyes.
Right. Yeah. Even from a data perspective, I'm the data guy.
You're right.
There's big data evidence in these states that there was fraud. Or at least not necessarily fraud, I should say, but something anomaly where something was not right. Either on purpose or accident, there was something wrong. Right. The data shows that clearly in multiple states.
Right.
But Matt, what you don't understand is this was an unprecedented election because Trump is an unprecedentedly bad candidate.
This is the thing. Like, that's what I got. I hear this all the time. It's like, well, Trump is just so bad that there were just anomalies created because people were so against him. And I'm thinking, okay, so we're led to believe that he's so bad, but simultaneously has received more votes than any president in history, except for allegedly Joe Biden.
Well, here's the rub to that.
We're supposed to believe those two things.
Yeah, that's so true. But here's the rub: is the anomalies we're seeing only happened in the swing state cities.
Oh well, what do you know? What?
So the distributions and the data in all the other states are normal. But it's in these swing states at a certain point after they stopped
1
counting.
or 2 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4 in the morning is when all the statistical anomalies happened. Weird.
It was just so crazy. It was so crazy because I went to bed before like the crazy dumps and stuff of votes. But when I went to bed, they had stopped counting and stuff like that. And I remember thinking to myself, that's weird. That there's nothing normal about that. So I'm going to go to bed, because I'm not going to stay up all night for this. And then when I woke up in the morning, I saw what had happened. I just had to laugh. It's like it can't be serious. That can't be an actual thing.
I know. It was crazy.
I think you're right, Matt. Because again, my initial impression was that they wanted you to know that they were cheating, and I still kind of land there. But I might be giving them way too much credit.
I think you are, man.
Yeah, I could be.
I mean, I don't know if you heard this one, but in Atlanta, when they stopped counting in Georgia and the Atlanta counties, they said they had to stop because of a water burst, a water leak pipe.
Oh yeah, I heard
even
that
in the
one.
same room where they were counting. So they're coming up with these obviously fake things, and now it's in court with the text messages where the people are saying it wasn't a big deal. There's no problem. And then there's like other states that aren't being, declared winners. Nevada had 30,000 votes left, still hasn't finished counting them after a week. Like all this stuff, it's not normal.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not.
Yeah. But the gaslighting continues, and it's crazy. I seriously can't believe not one person's cracked on this. Not Fox, Facebook. Right. They are all just bearing down the hatch.
You're right.
Did you see this on Twitter? I'm pulling up I screenshot. I have so many screenshots of like all the facts and stuff because I don't want to forget these things.
Well, hold on though. Thabiti told me that this is all fake though, so let's just stop talking about it.
Did Twitter verified the transition account for, here it is, Biden-Harris presidential transition. If you guys want to check this out, it's at transition46. Twitter verified that account. Yeah. It's blue checkmarked. Like these guys are evil.
Official. It's official.
To my knowledge, as of recording this on Thursday night, what is it, the 12th? Not one state is certified yet, from my knowledge. And we're already certifying transition teams? Like, these are the people that are evil.
He's been characterized as the president-elect.
Yeah. They're evil, and they need to be tried for treason. This is a coup. I don't know how else to say it. It's a democratic coup. That's what I called it on my show the other day. They're using the democratic process to try to carry out a coup. There's military coups, and now we have democratic voting coups. That's what this is.
I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm not going to disagree.
Oh, man.
So what's BigEva going to do though? Like, let's say that this all gets handled in the courts, and we got 10 more glorious years of Donald J. Trump.
What's 10 more years?
10 more glorious years for dear leader.
Oh man, what are they
going to do? Are they going to say what the mainstream media is going to say and it's a fascist dictator takeover, just like Stalin did back in the day? Blah 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 blah. All that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think because you've called it so right, and I don't know if I said this while we were recording or not in the beginning. You called the pivot masterfully. Yeah. And it's so funny. Everything they said, people are just sending it to you. Like, you called it 80, you called it 80. It must drive them nuts.
Yeah.
It must drive them nuts. So they pivoted and are pretending like they're all offended at Joe Biden's.
How dare you? I can't believe it. I cannot abide this.
How many weeks, if not months, AD, have you, me, John, Toms, all the Toms, been telling them about this, that it's evil, they need to repent, and they were like, these people are just online pundits and divisive and all this stuff. And now it's like we didn't even exist.
Right.
So what I think is going to happen, and I could be wrong, and you're the expert, not me on BigEva, is they're going to go underground for a little bit, be a little quiet, and then it's going to start kind of easing back into the same narrative they had before of, Trump's evil. You can't be American. You got to be Christian first. And then it's going to just happen all over again. I
think we're going to get like we'll get a handful of blog posts, and it'll be like the usual suspects. It'll be Joe Carter. It'll be they'll find a black guy. Of course, you need a black guy in there. It doesn't matter which one. They're interchangeable to the BigEva. It doesn't matter. So because they just need a black. They just need a black voice. Right. You know what I mean? Like that's their thing. Don't get mad at me. This is how they think of blacks. They're interchangeable. They're just a black voice. Mm-hmm. So they'll get a black guy to write something. And then they'll get, Russell Moore probably will go on CNN and say something. And then they'll get, what's that guy, the really horrible guy, David French, that guy. They'll get him to write something. And what it'll be is like something like this. This is a dangerous day for American democracy because of the blah, blah, blah. And they'll just talk about how like troubled they are and how stark day this is. This is fascism. And so only a handful of guys will do that. Mm-hmm. But everyone else will essentially fall into line. Nobody will say, but the courts decided that this was cheating. Nobody will say that. Yeah. But it'll be that kind of thing where they'll get their usual suspects to say that Trump's a dictator, and how it's ruined the witness of the church because they're not really for democracy, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they'll go hardcore into it, but they'll
ease in.
They'll ease in. That's right.
For sure. You know who else is terrible besides David French is Eric Erickson, man. I cannot stand that guy anymore.
Yeah, I can't figure him out. So honestly, I don't even know who he is. So let me just start with that.
He's a radio guy, a talk show.
Okay, he's a radio guy. So I started seeing his tweets during the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And I think I may have seen tweets before that, but I really started taking notice to him during coronavirus. And his tweets on coronavirus were just kind of weird. They were all over the place. Mm-hmm. And one day he'd be saying something about fear. The other day he'd be pumping fear. So it's like I couldn't figure him out. Yeah. He seems to be one of these, kind of guys. Is that what he's like?
Yeah, it's what he's like. I mean, he even called out Marcus Pittman. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, he did. He retweeted him, and I don't know who this guy is, and then started talking trash on him. But that's exactly what he is. He's actually worse than David French. At least David French is like consistent. He's consistently terrible, but at least he's consistent.
Yes. He is.
But Eric Erickson is like, he'll bash you one day and then praise you the next and then bash you the next day. Just stay away from those people as much as possible. They're terrible.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but this is great. What a crazy time to be alive.
It
It's
is,
great
and it's
though.
just
I
going to
gotta
get
say,
crazier.
it's honestly. Let me just be honest for a second. So,
Okay.
I think that a lot of the stuff that we're scared of, we can easily avoid. So, in other words, like the Equality Act, for example, that's a terrible, terrible, terrible piece of legislation. But you know, it's not going to take too much creativity for the church to get around something like that. You know what I mean? I think it'll be fine. I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be fine. Social media, yeah, I think it's going to be eventually be, not illegal, but it'll be very difficult to be a Christian on social media. But there's ways around that too. You know what I mean? I think we'll be able to figure stuff out. But all that being said, as much as I think it's going to be okay, I do think that there are some difficult and dark days ahead of us. There's no question about it. And I really do want everyone to seriously consider your local situations. If you don't have a local community of believers that you can trust, that have backbone, that will get your back, you got to find a situation that you can have that. You need it. You need to get to know your neighbors, man. Like if you're the kind of person, like, cause I am this kind of person. Luckily my wife is the exact opposite, but I'm the kind of person that could live in a house and never talk to my neighbors for 10 years. That's the kind of guy I am. Cause I'm not, you met me, Matt. Like I'm not like an introvert, but I don't need to be around people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could be alone and it'd be just fine. But if you're like that, man, you're going to need a local network, man, because you're going to go crazy. Otherwise it's so important to have a local body of believers that you can count on. I think.
No, 100%. And it's going to be more and more important as we go on for sure.
Yeah.
You're starting to sound pretty mill. I'm not going to lie, AD.
Nah,
all right, one more question, because I was actually wanted to ask this question too. I was curious your thoughts on this. Carol says, what will BigEva do when the Trump accountability list starts? You know what that is, the AOC list where they're going to start blackballing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about, like, how is BigEva going to interact with that list?
They're going to do nothing.
No,
they're going to do absolutely nothing. I don't think they're going to say it's bad. I don't think they're going to say it's good. I personally believe that people that are too Trumpy are already blackballed from BigEva. So like they've been holding, I think BigEva has lists, to be honest, already of people because here's the thing, like I've talked to some of you guys. So BigEva, if you're listening, I've talked to some of you guys in situations where there's been controversy and almost every time you admit that you've talked about me. I know you do with other people. And I've talked to the person that I thought was the one spreading these things about me, and he claims he didn't. I don't know whether to believe him or not because he's not a trustworthy person, but he adamantly denied it, which means that other people are talking about me. And so if they're talking about me, Matt, they're definitely talking about you. And if they're talking about you, they're
show. I've seen them admit it before. Yeah, they watched the show for sure.
So here's the thing, guys. Like we know you have these lists already, and so we don't care. But as far as the Trump list, I don't think that they're not the type to interact with that kind of stuff.
Do you think they'll be put on it, or will they be exempt from it?
I think that a lot of people will be exempt from it, and I think what will happen is that Russell Moore is on the bad team. He's on the wrong team. Yeah. He's on the Dem team, so won't be on it. And what he'll do is what any good mob boss would do, and he'll protect his guys.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, sure. That's what he'll do. He plays for the Democrats. He's on their team.
It's not even a secret. It was only a secret to me.
Right. So right, exactly. It's like that scene in The Departed when Jack Nicholson says, "Hey man, you tuned up a couple of mafia guys and they're going to come kill you, but I can stop them." That's what he'll say. Russell Moore will stop him from being on that list. So yeah, I think a lot of BigEva's playing footsie with the Democrat is setting themselves up for a position to be part of an official church that doesn't get harassed.
Gosh.
I do.
They're going to be the ones like in Germany
that's allegedly
that were the Jews that were able to deal with the Jews. They were like the Germany like middlemen. Yeah. That's what they're going to be.
I have no real evidence for that. That's just what I think. It's speculation. I think that there are certain people that see the writing on the wall. They're not really willing to go underground. And so they want to, and I think they justify it by saying, well, it's better that they hear the gospel from a real gospel preacher that's willing to, bend the rules on certain things than not hear the gospel. That's how they'll justify it to themselves. And you might agree with them or not, but that's what they're doing.
Well, after all, Tim Keller says they don't even have to hear about sin. or something like that. Whatever his stupid tweet was today.
Yeah. Why would you need to hear about that? I mean,
Well, you don't need it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hey, before you go, can you just share this show wherever you're listening to it? Just hit that share button. We're going to be all deplatformed eventually, so you might as well just share the show, help us get the word out as soon as we can. I pretty appreciate that.
I'm in. I'll share it.
All right, yeah, appreciate it. Thanks. First time ever AD shared a show. Love it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live. Your questions are fantastic. We love your commentary. Thank you for everyone again for supporting us. Super chats and the Patreon. Appreciate you guys so much. We'll talk to you next week. God bless.
Yeah. So somebody's here saying.
Wait. I didn't end the podcast yet. I was waiting for you to say goodbye.
Oh, bye.
Okay.